Alright everyone, as you can see I'm still in the process of sort of making the new home office, so it'll be a little bit of time. This isn't fully finished yet, but it's already looking better. Like, I'm looking around me, it's way less cluttered. It's going to be a lot better. I'm going to have some displays and shit, and I'll certainly be showing that off. It's going to look pretty good, trust me. A little plant area, books, and things like that. I thought it was time to weigh in on last night's stream. It was #1 trending worldwide. It hit #2, and everyone's like, wow, it's great. Then it hits #1, actually, for I think about an hour. And so Jared Holt at that point, journalist from Right Wing Watch, I'm sure he'll see this because, he watches me, he watches Sargon, Worski now, I'm sure, among others. His job is to keep tabs on the so-called far right of YouTube. Like, that's his pet project, even though half the people on his hit lists basically aren't on the right. They're, like, basically center-left. Like a Sargon, as I think most unmedicated individuals understand from last night's discussion. Holt tweet in the description, archived link to it, was like, oh, YouTube is allowing people to make money off Nazis because you see Worski, who himself is not an identitarian, takes tips because he's enabled to do so. But Spencer was on it, so he shouldn't be able to raise any money for that. He should basically throw it away as a freebie or not host an identitarian on there. Now, Holt also said earlier, like, the conversation hadn't even begun. He's like, oh, it's going to be great tonight watching Richard Spencer and people who basically agree with him. What are you smoking, dude? It doesn't, what he's saying makes no sense. It's clear defamation, too, because you have to understand it is provably false. It is objectively, provably false that I or Sargon have much in common with Spencer on the main topic. Now, if we're talking about censorship, or we're talking about PC bullshit, or we're talking about our thoughts on maybe a social Marxist movement, yeah, me and Spencer probably agree. We'll probably see eye to eye. But that's not identitarianism. The core of identitarianism is specifically racialism. Specifically, hey, shall we or shall we not form an ethno-state? I'm willing to disagree with him on that, but it's like when I spoke with Spencer before on his podcast months ago. And it was a friendly discussion. It didn't really touch on the racialism issue. It was basically about censorship, the rise of alt media, and things of that nature. Holt and people like him act as though I was supposed to go on his show, get red in the face, act incredulous, and say, you are the most evil Nazi scumbag. I can't possibly... I have to be an SJW now because, I'm told that you're evil. I'm sorry, I'm just intellectually honest, and I refuse to do that. There are going to be issues with anybody in this world, basically, that I see eye to eye on, and there will be things that I disagree with them on. The fact that Spencer's an identitarian doesn't make him a horrible, indecent human being who's not deserving of being given the opportunity to have a conversation. Now, I'm going to have a conversation with who I want, and all the Holts of the world aren't going to stop me from doing that, so good fucking luck. So, yeah, that was take #1, because that started before the stream even began. It was pretty funny. And I wonder if he's going to issue an apology now to me, and Sargon, I would assume, too, for trying to label us improperly. I'm going to not hold my breath for that because I think I'd probably asphyxiate and die. My second thought is this. There were some questions that I wanted answers to, and I simply didn't get them. Like, I asked Spencer, hey... moral issue aside, because, when you drag morality in, reason tends to go out the window. Morality aside, from a pragmatic standpoint, how do you intend to form your claimed ethno-state? Without violence. How do you intend to bring it about? I didn't get an answer to that. I was slightly upset as well because at various times I had a question I wanted answered. Spencer would begin to sort of, I guess, maybe answer it. Although on that one, I didn't get one. And then Sargon would chime in, and they would start egging each other on, and then I'm just sort of sidelined. That was a little frustrating, I'm not going to lie. That was not exactly my cup of tea. Can I point something out, by the way, to anyone who doesn't recognize this? If you're having a discussion of this type or a debate, your job is not to convince the other person. Like, if you just get red in the face, get upset, start insulting each other, this looks weird. Your fans probably side with you. Their fans probably side with them. Your job isn't to convince them really either. Your job is to convince the neutral, unbiased party. Yes, it's a minority of people on any significant issue, but they exist, and it's your job to convince them. And this is the other thing that the social justice warrior left, like a Holt or somebody like that, does not understand. They'll say, Warski's such a bad man for allowing an identitarian a platform to speak. Now Spencer has more fans. Why do you make the assumption, after spending years telling us that everything about identitarians is decrepit, morally bereft, it's impossible, it's not pragmatic, it's immoral, it's evil, and it should be unlawful. You want to suppress it, you want to crush it out of existence because it's just so terrible. Everything about it is deplorable, is irredeemable. If that is the case, why then do you jump to the assumption that it wouldn't be the identitarian side that loses support by being exposed to people who aren't identitarians? You don't think of that, though, because all you want to do is censor. See, it's not an attack on identitarians. The Right-Wing Watch doesn't care if identitarianism grows. In fact, it probably would like it because it'd have hot stories all the time. What it's worried about is the alt-media. It wants to crush out people like me. It wants to crush, yes, so Richard Spencer, of course, they want to shove him to the side. They also want to shove somebody like me to the side. They would also love to crush somebody like H.A. Goodman, who's a progressive leftist. We're threats to them because we're independent. That's the whole fucking point. That's their real problem. When they try to morally harangue and say, oh, think of the children, you're giving a platform to Nazis. Where were you? Where were all of your outlets when the Iraq War began? Where were all of your outlets when Obama was killing tens of thousands of Yemeni kids? You were nowhere to be found. You said nothing. Don't give me the moral bullshit because you don't have any. You're out to make money. We're your competitors and you're worried about us. At least be honest. Look, if you're going to be honest and say, well, we don't like this alt-media thing, they're too independent. Okay, formulate an argument against independent media and at least be cheerful in being stupid. At least be honest about your reasoning. So that's a funny part to it. But I think, again, the biggest problem I had with the stream was it seemed like it was a little bit overloaded. When you have that many people, because JF was weighing in too, and then Millennial Woes joined in, and there's a lot of people. It just evolved at times into a shouting match. The thing is, like for somebody like me, I like to at least be able to give a terse statement without being interrupted. If I'm going to get interrupted, I'm just going to be like, well, there's nothing I can do here, basically. It's not a counter-argument, it's just talking over people. I was pleased. And by the way, that's not a slap at anyone in particular because, basically everyone was doing it. I tend to be the one that's not going to do these things. Like, I prefer to get prompted before I jump in. That way I know I have a clear line, I can say what I need to say, and then I'll shut up at some point. That's sort of how I do business because that's how I make my videos. It's just sort of what I'm used to. But I was pleased that people thought that I did well, and by the way, just so people know, and Warski pointed this out, this wasn't a properly structured debate, this was just a discussion by people who happen to disagree. Now, Holt and others can cast it off as, well, Sargon and Styx are basically just Spencer's gatekeepers, ha ha ha, they're like, I used the analogy of basically Spencer is Hitler, and then according to like a right-wing watch, I guess that makes me like Goebbels, and Sargon is Heinrich Himmler or something. Now that's not true. It's totally ludicrous. Anybody who watches our material knows it's false. And at this point, like half the identitarians online seem to just be cracking jokes about Sargon. But they actually believe this. They're so far out to the left, all they can do is censor, and so they need to cast us off as like evildoers. Because you gotta realize, there are normies who aren't part of YouTube culture who will actually eat it up. They'll actually believe that nonsense. So intellectually dishonest, clear case of defamation anyway. Which is why the original article they wrote up about us had to be restructured very quickly. I wonder why that happened. It was poorly structured, they say. I still hold to the idea that Holt himself isn't the progenitor of a lot of this stuff. I still think somebody leans on him and sort of cuts him a check or something when they want something done. I can't imagine that it's all his idea based on what I read in some of the write-ups. But, it was a good chat. It went long, which is why, of course, I had to sign out early. And I had a great time. I can't wait to do more of this. And also, there are several other chats. In the immediate wake of it, literally the same night, several people contacted me. Wanting me on various like shows or exposes, or wanting me to debate people. So I've accepted those. So I'll be on several other things fairly soon, not just Hard Bastard on the 10th. But yeah, it was a fun time, and I can't wait to do it again. That's about all. Peace out.